Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bilingual Find Your Place podcast. Desiring to show that it is possible to make unpopular choices, even out of the norm, and be happy, wishing to prove that happiness comes from choosing yourself rather than giving in to popular pressure, I receive people who have made the best of a situation that put them in the different box. My name is Stephanie Bergo, and I'm the host of this show. I've been working as a potential catalyst for more than 10 years, and my mission is to allow people to give themselves the right to be all that they are, and thus believe that their dreams are achievable. Welcome to these interviews. Hi, everyone. Welcome again on the Find Your Place podcast. I have the chance today to talk with Keisha Greaves. Thanks for sending me an email when I was looking for people to come on my podcast. I'm super happy. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. I was excited to be on your podcast, so I appreciate you having me on here today.
Thank you. It's super fun. And it's been a couple of weeks or months that we're trying to find a good schedule.
It's been like
and
things
everything.
come up, living with a disability. You kind of never know doctor's appointments. So I appreciate your flexibility and your patience. So I'm happy that we finally get to do it today.
I'm super happy.
Yes.
It's okay. And like disability or not, sometimes schedule doesn't fit. And one time it was me who forgot. It was not in my schedule. Yeah. So it's not all on you, clearly. It's also on me.
Yeah, that is fine.
So yes, I was super happy that you manifested your interest to come, because I'm super thrilled to learn about you and to know you better, because we only exchanged by message.
Right.
So before the call, you told me you're from New England. Have you always lived there?
Yeah, born and raised in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So yeah, I was born and raised, always live here. I am 37 now. And I love it. Growing up, I didn't really appreciate the city of Cambridge where I lived, but as I'm older, it's like I'm learning more to appreciate it.
Oh, and what didn't you love when you were younger?
When I was younger, you're just like foolish. It's like I felt like, oh, it was too quiet, not too much action going on. I just wanted to be wherever my best friend was. She was going to a school that wasn't the best. She had to go through like metal detectors. And it's like, I wanted to go to that. Like, when you're young, I'm like, oh, I want to go to that school. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, so, looking back, so young and foolish. And, my mom, of course, she'll just ignore probably everything I was saying. I was like, Mom, I want to transfer. And, I just felt like Cambridge was just like a small town. And, like again, but as I'm getting older and now it's like everything is Cambridge for me. Like I even have t-shirts that says, yeah, I'm from Cambridge. So it's like, kind of build this community and try to make a change in Cambridge. Like now I'm on the Disability Commission for people for disabilities in Cambridge, and, trying to create new, access and accessibility, here with the mayor of Cambridge. So it's like, if you had asked me this, like, when I was younger, I'll be like, no way. So it's so interesting to see how involved I am now.
Very cool. And it's awesome that you get to take of your time to help you and others. And it's great.
Yes.
So can we talk a bit about that? Because clearly the Zoom shows us only a part. So you're talking about your disability, and I know it's something very important for you, like in everything you do now. And can we talk a bit about it?
Sure.
What does it, yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I live with muscular dystrophy, which is muscular dystrophy. A lot of people may not know. It's like when pretty much it like deteriorates your muscles, so it's like you become weaker over time. So it's like I'm not able to say like extend my arms out to like say maybe feed myself. Get dressed on a daily basis is difficult. That's why I have home health aides on a daily basis. And so muscular dystrophy is definitely it's not like it's like a worse disease. It's like there's no treatment, no cure. Only treatment is really physical therapy, and that doesn't really seem to like, help. It's like, it's good to exercise the muscles, but then again, doctors say you don't want to overwork them because that makes you weaker. So it's like you can't win. And so with me, I was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy in my early 20s. And I mentioned earlier, I'm 37 now. So it wasn't even something I was born with. Growing up, I mean, I played softball, just living a normal childhood life. I didn't know anything really about a disability. Went to camp over the summer with my cousins. In high school, walking up 5 flights of stairs to get to classes. College, again, walking up like 4 flights of stairs with laundry, groceries, everything. So it really just opened my eyes of how much I took for granted as an able-bodied person at that time, and how much now I'm seeing a world in a whole new perspective. So how I became diagnosed was in my early 20s. I was actually in graduate school receiving my master's degree. And I started to get really weird symptoms in my body where I would be walking and my leg kind of just gave out on me. It was like super bizarre. Like I would just like, collapse. It was like I had no control. I would just fall to the floor.
Wow.
But sometimes I was able to get myself back up. So it happened a few times, but I'm thinking, well, I just need to lose weight. No big deal. I'm like, I'll get some exercise in, whatever, and then this will stop. But it was one time that really struck me, my mom, and my sister. We were leaving the supermarket. I'm pushing the cart, and then boom, I fell to the floor. This time it was like a dead weight. I fell to the floor and I wasn't able to get myself back up. And my mom and sister couldn't help me up neither because it was like a dead weight. Like if you know what I mean, like I just
Yeah,
couldn't
wasn't
move.
working anymore.
Right. It was like
Yeah.
my body betrayed me. So I always remember like a guy came over and he was strong enough and he helped me up. And then it was at that moment, my mom and sister were like, you know what? I think maybe you should go get it checked out. I was like, all right, but I know they're just going to tell me I need to lose weight. No big deal. That's what I'm thinking. So I
Mm.
go see an orthopedic out here in Boston, Mass at Tufts Medical Hospital. I'm from there, regular, I lie on the examination. Both doctors come in. They asked me to raise my right leg. The right leg would not extend out as it should. Same with the left. And that was the first time I noticed that. And
Oh,
then both
wow.
doctors kind of looked at each other, puzzled themselves, like, oh, this is, not, because they're orthopedic. So they mostly
That's
just
not
treat.
usual.
Right. And so they're like, you know what? I think you need to see a neurologist. This seems like neuromuscular. So I'm still like, okay, la di da, like, whatever. I just need to lose weight. Still not thinking of anything of it. So I go see a neurologist and I love her. I still see her to this day, Dr. Catherine Wang. And when I see her, we kind of go straight to it. I'm doing testing I never even heard of, EMG, EKG. Most of interesting of all was that they did a muscle biopsy where they took a piece of muscle from out of my right leg to test it. So that
Wow.
was interesting because I was awake for that. And so I was like, so from that muscle biopsy, that's when they determined that I have muscular dystrophy. And I will always remember the day of I got that phone call. She called, she's like, Keisha, we got your test results. You have muscular dystrophy. And I'm
Wow.
like, what's she talking about? Like, I
Mm.
don't have no muscular dystrophy because I
It
never
seems
heard
so
it at that
unreal.
time.
Mm.
Right. Nobody in my family seemed to have it. I'm like, oh, she got these test results mixed up. She don't know what she's talking about. But I know when she called, although I was saying that she got the test results mixed up, I felt like deep down there was some truth to it. Because then
Mm.
I go straight to like Google, as most of us, and I'm researching muscular dystrophy.
And it
And I'm
seems that what
yeah,
you were experiencing was,
exactly. But I'm
wow.
still, like not processing it. I'm like, this is not me, because I'm reading no treatment, no cure. And I'm like, some people have it from the time they were born. I'm like an adult now, so this can't be me. So I'm like, what is
Mm.
she saying? So I totally shut down because I'm like, I have muscular dystrophy. Here I am in my early 20s. I'm just like, what does my future hold? What is going to happen? And I'm all in grad school at the same time, trying to process it all. So it was a lot at that moment.
Really. And what were you studying at that time?
Business. Yeah,
Okay,
business
super cool.
management, yeah. But I studied fashion design and merchandising for my bachelor's at Framingham State University.
And then you went to management and
Yes.
business. That's super cool. So it comes from, is it a gene? Is it
That's what I'm saying. It could be genetic. So far, my parents, my dad passed away in 2019, unfortunately, from cancer, but we
mm,
never got to test because they say although your parents or family member may not have it, they could be carriers.
oh
So
yes.
I never know. I'm like, sometimes they're like, oh, your mom could have been a carrier, but you got it. But nobody in my family seems to have it. So it's just kind of like a mystery to this day of like, where did this come from? Is it something I ate? Something I touched? Like sometimes I do wonder, like, you never know what's going on in your body.
Totally. And that's very difficult and at the same time interesting, because what you're telling me is I took for granted most of everything, like most of us all do. And
Yeah.
then you started having some problem, but you were like, wow, nothing very
Right.
important. And then finally the diagnosis come, and clearly at the beginning, like the brain want to deny. What happened next after this phone call? You said it's not me, it's me. Well, I felt like it was like true, but how does it went after that?
Yeah, I was just in total denial. I didn't tell family or friends. The only reason family knew was because, of course, my mom corresponded with her sisters, my aunties, and that's how the cousins would find out. But even when friends would ask me to go out at that time, I was like, no, I don't feel like it, because I'm still trying to process what this doctor just said. So every time I go to have a follow-up with my neurologist, I'm walking in thinking she was going to say, oh, Keisha, we got the test results mixed up. You don't have muscular dystrophy. We got it mixed up with another patient. But that wasn't the case. And so over time, I started to go to physical therapy thinking like, it was just going to go away. I started Weight Watchers at the time where I lost a lot of weight. I'm like, okay, that's what it is. I got this, but still denial at the same time. As it started to progress, I started to use a cane. So as I'm working in the merchandising field and going on job interviews, I would tell them, oh, I sprained my ankle or I was in a car accident. I said everything but, because saying those two things sounded better than saying I have muscular dystrophy. That's how much in denial I was. So I just wasn't, ready to accept that. And then one day my friend said, why don't you write a blog? Why don't you share your story about, the symptoms you're having? And I'm like, why would I do that? I don't have muscular dystrophy. So that's how much in the mindset I was. And then one day I listened, I was like, all right, let me open up my laptop. And then I just started typing. It wasn't like something I thought about. I just started typing about all the symptoms I have now, like as I am talking with you. And then as I'm typing, saying it out loud, it was like at that moment, I said, wow, I have muscular dystrophy. That's crazy. Never mind what the doctors were saying. It was like I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, I have muscular dystrophy. That's crazy. So then I just remember just posting it on Facebook, like Tumblr. And then I remember getting such great feedback of, people was like, oh my God, I know someone who has that. I had a similar story. My mom lives with like muscular dystrophy. And, these are like friends that was like, oh my God, I just spoke to you and you didn't say anything. So it was kind of like a shock for everybody. But once I released that blog, it was like, wow, this is it. I put it out there. Everyone knows now I have muscular dystrophy. What's next? But, I was still in denial.
And how long between the moment you have that phone call and you start the blog?
Maybe like a good couple months. Yeah,
Okay.
a good while.
And have you been depressed? On your side, what was like going on like in your mind and like about the future? Because you're right, you Google it and you're like, okay, no treatment, no nothing. So what comes after that?
It was a lot. I'm just like, what does my future hold? Because I always had a passion for fashion, as I tell people, always wanted to be an entrepreneur. Here I am creating this business plan in graduate school. And then I have muscular dystrophy. So I'm like, what is going to happen? Like, what does my future hold? I'm just like, so yeah, I totally shut down and depressed. And, that's something I still have depression to this day where I'm totally, open and telling people about. I'm like, yeah, I have a right to be, because I'm like, I'm living with muscular dystrophy. Can you imagine? It's not even like something I was born with. It was like I had this old able-bodied life prior to this, able to run and walk. So I'm just like, where did this come from? So yeah, I still have like a mental health therapist to this day. And it's a lot to process, dealing with muscular dystrophy, running a small business, and having to rely on home health aides. Oh, and then some of them are not reliable. So that's just a whole category in itself. So it's a lot to process. So I still have my days. I tell people, I'm like, yeah, you may see me happy and joyful, but I'm like, you never know. Don't get it twisted. I'm like, I still cry, sometimes at night, like, why me? Why do I have this? And I tell people all the time, I'm like, watching reality TV and watching shows is honestly what keeps me sane. Just like, I could be down, like depressed, having a bad mood or crying, but knowing I have a TV show to watch, I'm like, that just keeps me like entertained and, just kind of keeps me going. Another thing that helped me along the way was during that time, kind of coming out of denial when I wrote that blog, I went on social media and I started hashtagging like muscular dystrophy, hashtag disability awareness, hashtag like chronic illness. Because I'm like, I want to meet other individuals like myself. And I must say that totally helped, because I always tell people to this day, it's nothing like talking to somebody who knows and gets what you're going through. Yes, I may have the support and family and friends, but they're not living in this body. they don't know what it's like living with muscular dystrophy. So once I did that on social media, I met a whole new range of people. And it was so awesome to see like so many people in the disability community and people that look like me, Black, in a wheelchair, doing like, content creating, like into fashion, being creative. And I'm like, oh my God, look at her. She's doing it. You know what I mean? So that kind of gave me motivation and inspiration, like, okay, I got this, so that definitely helped with connecting with other individuals, because it's like now I'm a part of this awesome disability community.
That's so cool. I'm listening to your story and I'm like, yeah, like it's always for everyone, disability or not, is having a purpose and deciding what you want to achieve and stuff. And like in your case, it was like clear that you were ready and able to do everything you wanted to do at that time. And then the doctor called and things change and it's all quick, those things. And we don't know. We often talk about death, for example, like you can cross the street. And so please do whatever you feel like doing today, because tomorrow might be too late.
So true.
And I love the part that you said that you are connecting with other people in your community. I'm an entrepreneur and I've been telling my client and my friend that want to start a business, the first thing you need to do is make sure you're surrounded with people that understand your reality. It's the same thing for me for motherhood. When you have kids and none of your friends have some, and you're like, oh my God, is he gonna sleep one day or not? And like it's relating to people is we're such a social being. It's so important.
Yeah, I agree.
And now everything you do like is around that, no? The business, the blog, tell me about it, please.
Sure. So it was like, so at that time, of course, as I'm saying, like thinking I'm in denial, I'm like, what does my future hold? And so, like I said, I always had a business plan, passion for fashion. Growing up, I looked up to designers such as Tommy Hilfiger, Betsy Johnson, and Kimora Lee Simmons. And so I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be in the big New York City, being a fashion designer, running my own business. And so after I came out of denial and kind of just put some thought to it, I'm a true believer in things do happen for a reason. I may not understand it at that time, or sometimes I still may not understand it now. But I'm like, maybe this all happened for a reason. So then that's when I was like, it's time to start putting my business degree and fashion skills to use. I was like, let me kind of create something where I can help inspire and motivate others in the disability community. So then that's when I started off, when I was like, I want to do graphic t-shirts, because I love graphic t-shirts. If you come to my place, you're going to see them all over, because I just love different graphics of like different funky things. Like I love cutting up my t-shirts, like bleaching them, tie-dyeing, and like, just in different like inspirational quotes. So, I started off with like t-shirts with like kind of like different quotes that were meaningful for me of how I felt I was going through at that time of being diagnosed. So for instance, I started off with, of course, Girls Chronically Rock logo on a t-shirt. I have trust your dopeness, trust and believe in yourself that you can do anything. Another one's favorite is, hello, my name is Chronically Ill Badass. Like, yeah, we may be chronically ill, but we're badasses as well, like taking on this challenge every day. And so that's when I started off with the t-shirts, and I still have them on my website to this day. But as I'm progressing and it's getting worse, I'm like, that's when I started to learn about adaptive fashion, where adaptive fashion now is going to be like the next big thing in the fashion industry. Adaptive fashion is for people like myself that have a disability, that helps us get dressed much quicker, easier on a daily basis. So kind of more accessible. And I'm like, you know what? I want to start getting into that, field. And so that's when about a year ago, I created an adaptive swimwear collection, and it's called Adaptive Splash. And I know some people may think, oh, well, why do you have a swim? That's mostly seasonal for when you go on vacation or things like that. And I'm like, not really. Because prior to pandemic, I was going to aquatic therapy at Spalding Rehab out here where I live twice a week. And I tell people, when I am in the water, I feel like a mermaid, because I can do things in the water that I can't do on land, due to the gravity and the muscles of my hands. And so it's like when I'm in the water, I can like hop around, do jumping jacks, extend my arms up, where on land, I can't do that. So it totally feels good to be in the pool and get that aquatic therapy. So I told them, can you imagine for an able-bodied person, when you come out trying to take that bathing suit off? So I'm like, imagine someone like myself with the disability holding on to my balance, holding on to my wheelchair for dear life. I'm like, I want to make something more accessible where it's easy. So when I come out from the pool, I can easily take on and off. So with the adaptive swimsuits I made, they have hooks on the shoulder to make it easier to hook on and to hook off. Because I want people to like be excited to go to physical aquatic therapy in the pool. And I'm like, and most importantly, for us to feel confident within our own skin. So I have 3 styles right now with the adaptive swimsuits. And then I also have adaptive t-shirts that you can wear regularly or as a swimsuit cover up. And it has Velcro on the left side. So it's easy to like rip off and to put it back on. And I say this because I'm like, a lot of people may think, oh, adaptive fashion, that's just for people with disabilities. But it's like, no, it's actually not. Yes, the inspiration may, have started there. But I'm like, even my aides that help me get dressed on a daily basis, they're like, I don't have a disability, but I would totally rock this because they see a difference of just helping me get dressed on a daily basis, putting on the t-shirt, putting on the pants. And they're like, and that's total, that makes a difference. Because I'm like, it's exhausting for me getting dressed in the mornings, taking a shower. I'm like, I tell people it's like just finished running the Boston Marathon. That's what the body feels like, exhaustion. So then imagine then you just got to put on clothes after the shower. So anything to make it more adaptive, that can be like with hooks, magnetic snaps, Velcro, anything you can think of. And I'm so excited that one of the designers I looked up to, Tommy Hilfiger, now has an adaptive clothing line. So he's had that for quite a few years now. And so when I saw that, I'm like, that just brought me so much joy because, like I said earlier, he's one of the designers I looked up to. So I'm hoping one day me and him can do like a collaboration. Tommy Hilfiger, Girls Chronically Rock, adaptive clothing. I think that would be so awesome. So I'm trying to manifest that. But it's getting more awareness. Like Target now has an adaptive line online. Kohl's also has one. So I'm glad it's getting more traction. And I'm just like so excited to see that because they say in the next few years, adaptive fashion is going to be the next $1 billion industry.
Totally, and it's so important. I have friends that have kids with great disability, and when they were younger, it was easier to dress them up. They were so small when they're
Right.
6 months, 2 years old, but now that they're 16, 17, 18, and they're not, in their case, able to help themselves out.
Yeah.
So it was the first time for me that I heard about clothing designer specialized in adaptive and disability.
Yeah.
And they were like, for example, when the kids were younger, they had a designer that designed winter boots because here in
Oh,
Quebec
yes.
we have like plenty of snow, but trying to
Yeah.
put the real boots in a feet that
A
doesn't
lot.
stay straight, it's super difficult. And I was like, oh,
Yes.
I never
So
thought of
much.
that.
Right,
When it's
exactly.
like, oh,
Yeah. And so you're in this
yes.
situation, you're like, you don't think about it.
Yeah, and often people creating those amazing brand and those amazing clothes are people that truly and finally understand the needs.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about, and probably Tommy Hilfiger knows how to surround himself with people that knows, but when you're not living with those hustle and difficulties, it's difficult to know what will
Yeah.
be really helpful.
Exactly. I totally agree. It definitely opens our eyes. And like I said, it definitely opened my eyes. Here's like, because I'm like, I'm like part of both worlds now where I've seen both perspectives. Like, before I wasn't thinking about, oh, is this building going to be accessible? Does this door have the accessible button for me to hit to get in? Those things, it was like I took for granted being on college campuses, going out to eat. Whereas now, once I was diagnosed, I'm like, I got to make sure this place has an elevator. Is it going to have accessible parking? Like so much goes into traveling, just doing like the littlest things of now, that I have a disability and I'm in a wheelchair. So yeah, it definitely opens, a person's eyes.
And talking about it is so important. When I was younger, I was very interested in sign language
Oh
because I
wow.
felt like people that were deaf weren't able to communicate with many people because
Yeah.
it's not most of the people that knows. So I was very interested. And while in university, I had to choose optional classes to finish the courses. And I chose at that time sign language. So I got in a world that was totally mystery for me.
Yeah.
And I've learned many things. Well, I learned how to communicate with them, but more than that, like they dance. Oh yeah, they dance. Oh, okay, the vibration works. So some types of music, like African music,
Yeah.
Latin music, make them be able to dance, and they dance some of them very, very well. So
Yes.
you're like, you're not hearing the music, but you're still dancing like you
Right.
that was amazing, and it opened my eyes, and talking with them and learning. And for example, one of my friend, we went camping, but the alarm for the bed is not the same. Mine is ding ding ding, his is
Yeah.
all the bed is shaking. You're like, oh
Right.
my god. So you learn many, many things,
Yes.
being
So true.
in relation with people that lives with those disabilities.
Yeah.
And I think
So
that what you're
true.
doing is so precious, because it helps people like me that have, for example, the like, still thinks that everything is easy.
Yeah.
Like, make me reflect. For example, if I have to build something, if I have to, one of my friend has been talking with, he was doing, you're in, he was in fashion, and he was doing
Okay.
store design,
Yeah.
and he had a friend that was in a wheelchair. So for him, it was completely normal to make sure that all
Mm,
the all
I
the
love
place in the
that.
stores were accessible. But if you don't know people, if you don't
Exactly.
listen to people like you talking about their story, sometimes it's not because you don't want to do it, it's only because you're not aware and you don't see it.
Yeah.
So super
So
important what you're
true.
doing.
Yes.
It's
So
very
thank
cool.
you. I appreciate that.
No, but it's very fun, and I think that being different, everyone is different. Like,
Yeah, and that's what makes us unique in our own
exactly.
way. Yeah,
And
agree.
when we start by, like, I often say that, start by thinking that everyone is different, like that you'll only have to build a bridge between our differences, instead
Yeah.
of trying to put you in a box and me in a box and somebody else in a box.
Yeah.
And sometimes the difference that are the more obvious, like for example, you're black, I'm white, are
Yeah.
not the biggest differences we have
Right.
between us. And sometimes things we thought would be very different are very, very close,
Yeah,
even. So it's super interesting.
that's
Like,
true. It is. It's very interesting.
I love it. So now you have the store. Can I ask how it works for you on a daily basis? Are you drawing some of that? Are you talking to someone who's drawing it for you? Is there good days where you're able, some where you're not? How does it work?
Yeah, of course. So it's like once I, started Girls Chronically Rock, how I came up with the name too was I knew I wanted something with the word chronic in it for chronic illnesses, but I didn't know how I wanted it all to play out. So honestly, I was lying in bed one night and I thought Girls Chronically Rock. I love the way it sounded and I love the way it flowed. That's when most of my creative ideas come to mind is when I'm sleeping. And so I woke up one, yeah, pretty much the next day and then started looking for graphic designers. So then I worked with a graphic designer at first, and I actually had another different logo at the time, which was so interesting because I found one of my old t-shirts the other day and I'm like, wow, look at this. This was my original logo. And so although yes, that was my first one, I wasn't too like excited about it. It was like I want to be able to represent my brand. And I know like I was like, this is not really the vision I wanted. So after I, was like, oh, I don't really want this logo, I reached out and I got another graphic designer. And then that's when I got my full, logo into fruition. And I love it now, the one that is pink, black, and white. I love it. It has the colors that, I'm obsessed with. And this graphic designer brought my vision to life. And so from there on, that's when I asked him, I started working with him and we created different logos. And then that's when I started putting them on the t-shirt. So yeah, I do not create the logo. I just have the vision. Like I'm able to talk to you and execute like, okay, this is what I want, the colors, the detailed, how I want it to look. And then I, talk to the person and then they make sure they capture my vision. Because of course in school, like I used to be able to, in college, able to sew and maybe do more things with my hand. But now
Mhm,
having a disability with muscular dystrophy, I have that limitation where my
mhm.
arms and the hands are just, weak and I'm not able to do as the thing as I, would like to, which, sucks. I have my days where I'm just like, oh, I wish I can do this, you know what I mean? But it's like I have no control over it. It's like, I have no control over this muscular dystrophy. I tell people like it's not like I can wake up and say, oh yeah, this muscular dystrophy, can you come back? around 2, like I have these things to do. Like, no, this is here to stay and it is what it is. And so with that, so I still work with that graphic designer today. Whenever I have like a vision, I'm like, oh, can we put this on a shirt? And then when it was time for designing, again, something like where it's hard for me now to sketch, I reached out to a designer to see if they can get my vision to what I want. So I told them the colors, where I want the accessibility and the adaptive swimsuit to look like. And then I worked with the manufacturer out of, I think it was Pakistan. And then that's when he made the inventory. I sent him the, pretty much the designs I wanted, where I wanted things to go. We communicated back and forth. And then, yeah, so now that's where I pretty much have the inventory here in my office space in my apartment. And everything is done from here, right in here in my apartment. So when an order comes in, thank goodness I have my home health aides to help with that. So, I have everything on Shopify. I print out the label. I have my packaging here, my tissue paper, tags, business cards. So we do all of that from right here. So I get so excited when I have an order. And then whoever's here, I'm like, hey, we got an order. And of course, I have like all my packaging is like pink, black, that reflects, just me as a person, my logo, because I love bright, funky colors. So of course I'm like, I know when I get a package, I get excited when it's all like bedazzly and, looks pretty. So everything is done from right here in my apartment. And then as far as, yes, it's a lot, could be balancing running a business while have a disability. Because I tell people, I'm like, I wake up some days, I don't know what this muscular dystrophy wants to do. There's some days my aides come and I'm like, I really can't even get out of bed today. My energy is so low. The body feels weak. So it was like, I don't know what it wants to do. I'm like, I tell people this muscular dystrophy has control over me. So as much as some people say, oh, you got this, or, some people may say, oh, if you have this medicine or a special diet. No, stop it. We all, we do our research. I have top doctors here in Boston, Mass, telling me no matter what, no diet or anything can change that. They haven't even found a cure or a treatment yet. And so I tell people, I'm like, it's just a matter of waking up and going from there. But, when I get messages like, or communications with people like you and come on here and want to do podcasts and share my story. And when I get messages on Instagram, that makes me feel so good, because sometimes you can doubt yourself. Like, are people understanding my vision? Do they understand what Girls Chronically Rock means? And when I get those type of messages, I'm like, oh, like about 2 weeks ago, I had this lady who she was like, I seen your things at a fashion show. You have adaptive fashion. And I just bought one of your t-shirts because I have cancer and I'm in chemo. And she says that adaptive t-shirt is going to help, with the nurses when, getting to my port. And then when she's at chemo, like when she gets the shirt, she's like, takes a picture and send it to me. And that just made me feel like, you know what I mean? Like, this is why I'm doing it.
Very proud.
Also, it just made me feel good. And I still have that picture. And I'm just like, look at that. So that made me feel so good that she was happy. She got her thumbs up, like, strong, like I got this in chemo. And, because I get it. I have, my cancer runs in my family, but that just made me feel good. So when I get like situations or messages like that, I'm like, that keeps me inspired and motivated to keep going. Because I'm like, I'm looking to build my Girls Chronically Rock empire. Like I said, I'm hoping to get the attention of Tommy Hilfiger. Like, ooh, so I'm looking to maybe go on Shark Tank one day. So it's like, I have so much vision for Girls Chronically Rock. So I look at it not just a clothing brand, but a movement.
That's amazing. I have no word to express how much I'm inspired.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's true. It's
Thank
true.
you.
It's like, it's crazy that everything you do is first helping. I assume that it helps you also to keep your sanity, to have something you love to do, but also it helps people around you. It inspires people that even with something you're saying, it's like it has control over me. And some days, even though you want to do many things, well, it's not possible. So we have to deal with it. And you surrounded yourself with people helping you to manifest your vision of clothing, but also your vision of the communication you're putting out and the medical aid that are packing your stuff.
Yes.
They're like half entrepreneurs with you.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like they're learning a lot as well.
That's amazing, and that's crazy, and it's like doing the best out of your studies and like your passion for fashion and then your reality, and like it's a red thread, everything goes together and it works.
Yeah,
Like
like totally, yeah.
it's super
Agree.
fun.
Yes.
And it's totally inspiring to see that. But well, clearly when the call came in, like you're a bit in denial, and like the brain cannot process those type of information easily. It doesn't
Right.
work. It's not like, it doesn't work. And then, well, okay, so your friend opened up a door in your mind saying like, share your story, and then you
Yeah.
started sharing and you help other people, and while you're sharing, it gives other people the chance to ask questions like, how's your reality, how does it work, like
Yeah.
people not living with those disabilities doesn't know. So it's super,
Exactly.
and it's super interesting. And then like sharing your stuff and then doing the business. And is there anything we can do to help you out with your mission?
Yeah, I would say spread the word. Just like, let people know what Girls Chronically Rock is about, sharing my story. If you know someone that, maybe has a disability, or I get so many orders where, they may not have a disability, but they're like, I support your cause. I love what you're doing. Or my friend has lupus. My friend's mom has MS. I get so many stories. And I'm like, yes, this is what I like to hear. Yes, it's unfortunate they're dealing with that, but I appreciate those messages. But yeah, just spreading the word, continue to have like people like myself on your podcast, letting them share their story, and yeah, just bring more awareness within the disability community and about adaptive fashion.
That's very, very cool. And at the beginning, you were talking about the time you were taking to help the mayor, the city, and everything where you live. And now it's very important to you. And you're now a Cambridge fan, which is like, if they're a fan of you, it's okay. You're a fan of them too. That's super fun. I hope that every city has people like you, as dynamic, as joyful, as you said, and as able to share. Because it's one thing to be joyful and to be dynamic if you have
Yeah,
difficulty sharing your stories and your needs,
right,
and that's so precious for people. Like, honestly, we all, well, I imagine we all dream of a world where everyone could have their place
right.
without, like, I see some people just trying to walk in a store with a stroller with kids, and sometimes like
Yeah,
the door doesn't open, the steps are
exactly.
too big. I'm like, my
Yes,
God.
so imagine someone like myself, and like you said, like
Exactly.
I took all those things for granted, not like realizing that. So I feel like it opened my eyes, but also my family's eyes. You know what I mean? Because we're all
Totally.
so close. So it's like they now are aware of like, oh, when we go out to a restaurant, let me call and make sure it's accessible for Keisha. And I appreciate that. So I think it's like opened up everyone's
Mm.
eyes. Like, it's like you said, like if you don't know somebody or not in that situation, you don't think about those things.
And the more we talk about it, the more people get aware of it, and the more builders make effort, the more cities make effort, the more. So yeah, it makes a like the snowball effect.
Yes, it does.
It's very important. Thank you so much for your time today. It was a blessing to talk to you, and I'm gonna honestly think of how can I help you more with your mission.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. So, yes, I'm so happy to be here today and allowing me to share my story. I appreciate that.
It's super inspiring, honestly.
Oh,
So thanks a lot, and I hope we have the chance to talk again on other subject with great
yes, me
pleasure.
too.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for being there. So please, please, please support Keisha's work and mission. It's very important. Talk about it. If you have someone out there listening to us, connection with Tommy Hilfiger or someone close to him, like, please reach out. It would be amazing. And
Yes.
thanks a lot for your time. Thanks everyone. See each other next week.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Come back next week with another guest that has a fascinating story to tell and that will inspire you to take action towards your own path. If you like this show, I'm inviting you to leave a 5-star review. That way, it helps us to spread the work and fulfill our mission even more. The podcast is also available in a video format on YouTube. You'll find it under the same name, Trouve ta place, Find your place, under Catalyseur de Potentiel. Let's connect on social media. You'll find me as Stéphanie Bergo or Catalyseur de Potentiel on Facebook or Instagram. Have a great day.